All right, today we're diving into one of the toughest, most draining parts of being a teacher. What to do in those moments when a student starts to escalate. But here's the thing. We're going to look at this in a completely different way. We're going to reframe it, not as a discipline problem, but as a human problem. A problem that's actually rooted in biology.
So, let's kick things off with a question that, if you're an educator, you've lived this 1,000 times. You see a student getting agitated, and it's like you can literally see the switch flip. That moment where their ability to reason, to think clearly, just evaporates. What is actually going on inside their head right then?
Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with what this is, a nervous system problem. Then we'll cover the single most important mindset shift you need to make. After that, we'll get into a practical de-escalation toolkit, look at the science of why it works, and we'll wrap up with one tiny thing you can try tomorrow.
All right, first things first. This is maybe the most important takeaway. When a student is escalating, it feels personal, right? Like they're trying to disrespect you, but they're not. It's biological. Their nervous system is just kicking into overdrive. It's a stress response, plain and simple.
So what do we even mean by escalation? Well, think of it this way. It's a state where the student's brain is just flooded with stress hormones. And when that happens, the part of their brain that handles logic, consequences, and impulse control, it just goes offline. It's not in the driver's seat anymore. And that's exactly why trying to reason with them or escalating with them is like throwing fuels on a fire. It just can't work.
And that leads us to what is, honestly, the most critical piece of this whole puzzle. Before you try a single strategy, you have to make one fundamental shift in your thinking. This right here is the big aha moment. Look at this. It's so simple, but so powerful. Our gut reaction, our instinct as the adult in the room, is to win the moment, to assert our authority. But that is the absolute wrong goal. The real goal, the only one that's going to get you anywhere, is to stabilize the moment.
Just let that sink in for a second. The goal is to stabilize the moment. When stability returns, teaching can resume. Seriously, make that your new mantra. It's not about winning a power struggle. It's about getting things back to a place where you can actually teach and they can actually learn.
Okay, so that's the mindset. But what do you actually do? How does this translate into a practical toolkit you can use right away? Well, instead of giving you a long, complicated list of things you'll never remember in the heat of the moment, we're going to break it down into 3 simple, manageable chunks.
Here they are, the 3 parts of your toolkit. Number 1, regulate your own body. Number 2, choose your words very, very carefully. And number 3, control the environment. Let's dig into each one.
First up, and this is crucial, it starts with you, with your body. Long before you open your mouth, your posture, your presence, it's sending a powerful message. And you have to ask yourself, is it a message of threat or is it a message of safety? Because your body language speaks volumes before your words even get a chance. Just look at the contrast here. It's so simple. So instead of pointing your finger, standing over the student, making quick, jerky movements, try this instead. Consciously drop your shoulders, keep your hands open and where they can be seen, and just slow everything down. These tiny physical shifts tell that student's stressed out brain that the threat level is dropping.
All right, so your body is sending a calm signal. Now we can move on to your words. And honestly, the language you choose can either be gasoline on the fire or it can be the water that starts to put it out.
Here's a perfect example. We say things like, "You need to stop that right now." But to an escalated kid, that sounds like a direct challenge. It's confrontational. But what if you just said, "Let's pause"? See the difference? It's neutral. It's an invitation to take a breath, not a demand to submit. It just completely sidesteps the whole ego battle. Now, this next one is a game changer. Validating the emotion, not the behavior. Saying something like, "Wow, I can see you're really frustrated," or "It looks like this feels unfair to you," does not mean you're okay with them throwing a pencil. Not at all. It just means you're saying, "I see you. I see your feeling." And that tiny act of recognition can just drain the intensity out of a situation like magic. Okay, the final piece of the toolkit. This is about thinking like a movie director, not just an actor in the scene. It's about controlling the environment, changing the context, because sometimes that's way easier than trying to directly change the student's behavior. Think about it. An audience is pure fuel for an escalating kid. A public showdown is just a recipe for defensiveness and shame. So, instead of that public power struggle, try to make the correction private.
It preserves their dignity. And trust me, a student who feels like their dignity is still intact is way, way less likely to keep escalating.
Oh, this one is huge, and we all do it. When a kid's brain is swimming in stress hormones, it can't process language at normal speed. So when we stand there repeating ourselves over and over and over, we're just adding noise and pressure. The better move? Give one clear, simple direction, and then just be quiet. Give them time to process. That silence can be one of the most powerful tools you have.
So you might be wondering, why does any of this stuff actually work? Is it just being nice? Nope. It's not magic, and it's not just about being soft. There is some serious, hard science behind all of it. Let's take a quick look at the biology of what's happening.
Here's the chain reaction happening in their brain step by step. First, they perceive some kind of threat, and that could be anything: a tough assignment, a comment from another kid, even just your tone of voice. Second, their brain gets a huge shot of the stress hormone cortisol. And third, as that cortisol level spikes, the part of their brain for logic and self-control just plummets. Every strategy we just talked about is designed to interrupt that exact biological cascade.
And let's be absolutely crystal clear here. This is not about being permissive. It is not about letting kids get away with things or lowering your standards. Not at all. Consequences can and should still happen, just later when their brain is back online. What we're talking about is strategically regulating a nervous system so that teaching and learning can actually happen again. It's science, not softness.
Okay, I know this can feel like a lot to take in all at once. So where do you even start? Let's wrap this up with one simple, super practical, low-stakes thing you can try tomorrow. Your very first small step.
Here it is. Your whole mission for tomorrow is just this: lower your voice. That's it. The next time you feel that tension, the next time a student's volume starts to climb, your only job is to intentionally bring your own voice down. Speak more quietly than they are. Just try it and see what happens. It's such a tiny shift, but it can make a massive difference. And that really brings us to this final thought, which is just a complete paradigm shift. The most powerful classroom managers are not the loudest, they are the calmest. Real power, real authority in the classroom, it doesn't come from being the loudest voice, it comes from being the calmest nervous system in the room.
Because in the end, learning how to de-escalate isn't really just for the students. It's for you. It protects your authority because it shows you're in control of yourself, not just them. It protects your relationships. It protects your incredibly precious instructional time. And maybe the most important thing of all, it protects your own emotional energy. This is how you make teaching not just more effective, but more sustainable for the long haul.